Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 Million by 1 Million Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. This is part of the 1M1M Virtual Accelerator. We are the first global virtual accelerator in the world with the mission of helping 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue, build $1 trillion in global GDP, and 10 million jobs. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring sessions every week. This is our 336th episode. We've been doing this since the fall of 2008, long time, and we've worked with entrepreneurs from all over the world, and it's been a really interesting process for everybody who has been part of this community for all these years to, week after week, get to communicate with and get to kind of simmer in an ambiance of entrepreneurship and innovation from all over the world every week. The event is being recorded. You'll have a recording available on our blog as well as on the YouTube channel. Join us on Twitter at 1M by 1M and at Shromana. We publish a lot of interesting content. If you're live tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M. Our YouTube channel is 1M1M Roundtables. If you go there, you'll find recordings of all our prior roundtables as well as a lot of other interesting video content that we produce. The ones that we've published in the last couple of weeks are really particularly interesting. Maureen will share them with you in public chat so that you can have a look. These are the call-in numbers. Please make a note. We're not quite ready for call-in yet, but do remember this is a roundtable, so we want all of you to participate as much as possible. So definitely, as you're going through the session with us, line up your questions, line up your comments so that you can actually, talk in the session. We're going to start with a conversation with Stephan Goss, CEO of Zeeto. And I met Stephan relatively recently and did his story and thought it was fascinating. And in particular, what I want to expose you to is a form of monetization using which a lot of entrepreneurs have built very interesting bootstrap ventures, and that is affiliate marketing and monetizing through affiliate commissions. And Stephan has done a really solid instance of that. And welcome, Stephan. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks. It's fun to be here.
So why don't we start by having you tell us about your business. What do you do? How do you do what you do?
Sure. Well, I started about 5 years ago as an affiliate. And so what we do today is we've built kind of two companies. So we own samples.com, which is a premium property. We buy a ton of traffic, we send it to Samples, and we monetize it, basically asking users questions. That's the tech that we have then taken on the Zeeto side and that we're now launching to kind of the broader public. So I'm pretty excited for that. That's going to start happening in March, and it's really going to be an exciting play. Basically what we do there is it's challenging to monetize free samples traffic, right? It's not particularly high-value traffic if you're just showing, for example, AdSense ads. You're going to end up getting, what, $5, $10 CPM. So we ran into that exact problem when we started about 5 years ago. And so the solution that we figured out was that if we asked the users that were coming to our website just questions, we would be able to discover much higher value data points about them, right? AdSense just targets based on the context of the website. So we just ask them questions and see, hey, can we find something that's more valuable? For example, hey, are you looking to buy a car? Are you a diabetic? Are you looking for, and again, so it's a very broad strategy that allows us to really find something valuable about any user. So, and then we have a full ad exchange that we've built that then auctions off the ad inventory that's created from that.
And what is your experience with people wanting to answer these questions? Every time I get asked anything, I kind of immediately click out of that. I don't spend any time answering questions, but it sounds like you have been successful somehow in getting people to answer questions. Why is that and how is that?
Yeah, we get about a 95% progression rate. So 95% of people progress all the way through. It's a matter of, A, how you ask the question, right? If you ask it really intrusively, it's going to work less well. But we have been we've split tested it immensely, right? So we have done a lot of testing of what works well. Our tech really optimizes to ask the questions that have the best progression rate. But yeah, I mean, it's the typical play that Facebook uses, right? It's like, hey, the users get something for free in exchange for personal data, right? I mean, it's the pretty much what everybody else is doing in that space.
So walk us through the full flow of that business. So you're saying that there is something that you've learned about getting people to answer questions. Tell us a bit about what happens. Let's say I go to your website. What happens? How do you lure me into answering these questions? And then what happens with the data? What do you do with the data, and how do you use that data to then target your follow-on steps?
Sure. So using samples.com as an example, again, we have other publishers on it now too. But so basically you would see whatever, an ad on Facebook for a free sample of Tide Pods, right? Just something. And we aggregate a ton of free samples online, so we have a very, very broad selection. But so you would see an ad, you would come to our website. You would register for the website, right? Because it's just a regular registration, first name, last name, email, phone number. And then literally it just jumps into questions. We keep it very short. There's usually 10 to 12 questions and 3 to 4 ads. So we don't do, it's not a data where we then retarget you across the internet or something. Like literally you answer a question. If we're going to show you an ad, we're going to show it to you right there and right then. So you'll say, hey, are you diabetic? Yes. And then the ad is going to be, would you like free diabetic supplies, right? And that will be an ad from somebody who gives away diabetic supplies in order to do lead gen for their business. And so the ad gets shown immediately. If the user can say no, right? We don't sell any raw data. They can say no, or they can say, hey, yeah, I'm actually interested in that. It makes a ton of sense for me. I would love to have free diabetic supplies. And if they say yes, then that phone number gets sent to the advertiser who pays us in exchange for that.
I see. So you are collecting a phone number as a lead or an email as a lead, and you then pass that on to your advertiser who then pays you for that lead.
Correct. And we do so by, instead of just basically using free samples traffic, right, we find out more information about each user, and the questions are tailored to each user, actually. So we have a big data science team that figures out, hey, this user may be interested in that question, right? So we find new data points that you can't kind of just guess, right? Because, for example, Facebook looks at what have you posted about, right? But if you've never posted about being a diabetic, then Facebook can't show you a diabetic ad, right? We actually just add. And so it's funny, it's a very simple methodology. It's very hard to do well just because of all the math and the computation it takes. But yeah, so that's been pretty much it. And it really all started by me buying affiliate traffic for another company.
So you buy traffic on Facebook, and then you arbitrage that traffic by qualifying these visitors to your website with lots of questions, and you sell that traffic at a higher price point with email or phone number information to the advertiser. What does the arbitrage look like? What does it cost to buy this traffic on Facebook? Facebook advertising is also becoming quite expensive depending on where you go to look for this traffic. So is this, how viable is this business in terms of what's happening today?
Sure. Okay, so we don't just buy from Facebook. I think Facebook is actually a pretty small part of our business. That's just one good example. We buy from pretty much everywhere. So we have a team of 10 people that's pretty much all they do. I would say if I would have started today, it would have been much harder because, yes, you're completely right. The pricing, especially on Facebook, which was our big source to begin with, has definitely gone up significantly. I think the nice thing is, though, and that's what we're trying to enable really, right, is that the tech that we have built is, at this point, would be completely necessary. The reason we can make it work and a lot of other people cannot is because of our technology. It's just so much more efficient. I mean, we released a new basically model on the math side, and we generate 10% more revenue because of it. So having those tools is definitely pretty crucial to be able to successfully do it. And that's actually why we're releasing it to the public in Q2, right? The goal is to enable other people to basically do the same, to build similar businesses on top of our tech as we have. And so that's kind of what we're trying to enable, actually.
And what does the tech do?
It's so basically, okay, so the next version of it is basically that if you have a website already, right, and you have a website, I don't know, you have a job site, for example, just a completely random example, we will give you a piece of code that you can plug in right after your registration that you already have, and we will monetize that registration for you, and we'll just send you a check every month. But the goal is that we, out of the box, give you the tech, the advertising tech that really kind of monetizes, and so that you literally just have to plug in. That way you can buy traffic and you can focus on building your website, right? There's lots of awesome products out there that people really want to get to, so they will work great for people, hey, like, yes, I guess I'll sign up, and yes, I guess I'll answer a few questions in order to get the product because the product is great. So we're really trying to enable like product builders to just monetize higher, which means they can spend more money to make their product better, and they can spend more money on ads. So that's our goal for the next year, to really start getting into that.
And how do you plan to price that one? Is that a SaaS product that you're going to give to all?
It's free. So it's an ad exchange, right? So we basically take a share of the revenue. So we basically, it's just like AdSense, right? AdSense gives you an ad tag, you plug it in, and they basically tell you every day how much money you made, and they just take a revenue share on that. So it's the exact same model. And we have a full publisher side interface as well as the advertiser. So you can buy traffic from us as well through our publishers.
So you have bootstrapped this business to $42 million in top line, in total lead sales or ad sales, whatever you call it, in 2015. And you were profitable almost from when you started. What are the dynamics of your business that allowed you to be profitable so early and so efficiently?
Sure. Well, let me clarify on being profitable, quote unquote. We were profitable in the sense that we made enough money to then reinvest. So we've never taken any money out of the business at all. It's like there's no massive cash flow streams out of the business, because what we have done is that the profitability that we generate from buying ads, we have hired a ton of people with, and we have a lot of gross profit, but that we then use to build out the tech. Hopefully we'll become profitable this year. But yes.
No, but that's still profitability. But you're growing organically with profits. That's profitability. You haven't built $42 million worth of revenue with outside investor funding. You've done it with organic growth. So that's plenty profitable.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it was kind of part luck, in the sense that we were just in a vertical that ended up working out really well for us. And then it was just relentless optimization of everything. I mean, we've done so much work optimizing our ads, optimizing our website, optimizing every process in the business, really. So I think the execution side has definitely had a lot to do with it. And there's a lot of people who are really good at media buying, but it really is a combination, right? Because then we started building our own sales team so that we have higher ad sales, right? So it's really kind of the combination. It just kind of kept building on top of each other. And so we never had like a great plan of getting here like 5 years later, right? It was really more like, oh, this is working. Let's keep adding to it. So that's kind of one of the interesting parts, that it just kind of kept growing, and we just kept investing, and it's just gotten better every time since.
What are the key levers of growth for your business?
Sure. So I think obviously one is technology. Every time we've improved the tech, it's made us substantially more efficient and been able to buy a lot more. And then beyond that, I think I would just say people, right? Every great hire you make ends up making such a huge difference for your growth and for your ability to just either monetize higher or just do things more efficiently and do them better and faster. And then obviously cash flow is always king, right? I mean, that's kind of the nice thing about being in the U.S. We have pretty good banking, and we have a lot of revenue, so we're pretty bankable on that side. So yeah, I would definitely say the combination there. But the tech is really what has enabled our growth, and what's made it really hard for a lot of other people in our similar industry, because they didn't invest as heavily on the tech, and now that prices have gone up substantially on ad inventory, they are having a much harder time to compete.
So talk a little bit about the team. How many people do you have, and what is the composition of the team, and how have you grown the team over the years to get to this current configuration? Where have you added, and what was the prioritization in adding the team members?
Sure. So today we kind of have the Samples.com side, right, the arbitrage business, and the Zeeto side, which is the tech business. Samples.com is right around 18 people. That's about half media buyer, half content, et cetera. On the Zeeto side, it's about, so of the 60 people, it's about 30 developers, and then 15 people in sales, and then ops and support. So that's kind of the rough breakdown. I think on the hiring strategy, one of the things that I feel whenever I talk to entrepreneurs that start early, and that's what was my first thought too, was that I was trying to replace myself right off the bat. So I was buying all the media back then, so I was like, well, okay, if I want to scale the business, I need to hire somebody that buys media, right? And I ended up realizing after several mishires that that doesn't really work. Finding somebody who's really good or equally good as you are at something that you're good at is really hard. But hiring positions that you, A, don't like doing or that you're not very good at is a much, much more effective way of scaling. And so, for example, we hired an accountant, right? I'm not a huge accounting guy. Like, it's not my thing. So that helped us tremendously, right? And it was one of those services that really helped us scale long term. So instead of trying to find somebody that does what you do and to try to scale yourself, get all the other stuff off of your plate and give yourself more time to work on what you're good at. That ended up being a much more effective hiring strategy for us. So we hired a designer first, I think an accountant second, then I think it was a couple developers, and it kind of just started scaling from there. I think especially the developers made a huge difference because I'm a product guy. I love technology, right? I don't actually know how to code, but I like the design phase. I like the kind of ideation side of things. So that was really what enabled me in the long run to build some really cool technology. So that was kind of when it got very exciting for me.
And you're making this bet on the Zeeto side of, you know, giving this technology to people to, you know, be part of your ad network, so to speak. And that business has not started monetizing yet, right?
So we have a couple publishers on it that are kind of in like a beta stage, and so it's monetizing a little, but yes, for how much we've invested in it, no, it has not started paying off yet. That'll really hopefully start this year.
But, yes, but that technology is what has enabled you to do your work, your business, the samples business, successful. So it's not like it hasn't monetized. It has monetized for you in a different business model. This new business model has not monetized yet.
Sure, yeah. So we're basically gambling on the fact that, and again, we have proven out a lot, right? The tech works. So it's not a question of does the tech work or not. Really the question is, can we scale it across other websites that are not samples.com, right? So far, it's looking really good. We're having a couple partners that are testing it, and that's working really well for them. So I don't see that not working. It's really a question of how fast can we scale and what are the roadblocks that we end up finding, right? Because there's always some unexpected stuff, and so it's going to be really interesting to see what it happens to be in this case. But yes, I don't expect it to fail. I think it's going to be a very big success. So
now you have used bank financing to scale this business. Talk to us about at what point of your evolution, with what kind of metrics did you start bank financing, and what was the process of bank financing? How did the banks, you know, this is not an easy business for banks to understand typically. So they understand revenues, obviously. So I imagine that you went to them with substantial revenue. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, sure. So I would say the point where you can start financing a business like ours, right, in the tech space, is as soon as you have accounts receivables that are big, that are reliable, and that are diversified. So we went to them. I think we had about $2.5 million in accounts receivable. And so it's a pretty large amount, right? But especially if you have slow ARs that pay over 60 days, and if they're from reliable companies, if you go to a bank, they will finance that. So, and that's definitely a big scalability issue, right, for us, because whenever we had a great month, it also meant we were starting to run out of cash because we had to speak, because the money that we spend on the ads, Facebook, et cetera, right, we have to basically pay immediately. You put in a credit card into Facebook, and they bill you every whatever $20,000. So when we had great months, we would have to scale up, and our payables would be due immediately, and our accounts receivable were not. So financing those and getting a line of credit from a bank was definitely incredibly helpful.
And what kind of bank did you work with?
So it's venture banks. We're working with Bridge Bank. They're great guys, so they've been super helpful. And so really going to more, especially if you're on the tech side, the venture banks, and that would be Silicon Valley Bank, Square One, Bridge Bank, right? Those type of banks that are used to this. So mostly banks that are in Silicon Valley, basically. They tend to be used to these type of deals.
And this is something to make note of, guys. You know, tech businesses are complicated to understand, so a random bank is probably not, unless you're doing something very simple that they can understand. E-commerce, for instance, they do understand because it's very, very similar to retail, and their banks have been financing retail inventory and so forth for a long time. So those are easier to finance with, you know, local community banks. But if you're going into something a bit more complicated, like what we're talking about here with Zeeto, samples.com, or you're talking about SaaS, for instance, where receivables financing is a very, very common way to finance, you have to go to some bank that has that practice of inventory of receivables financing.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. I just heard they have now MRR lines. So for people with repeat billings, they will finance based on a multiple of that. So that's if you have contracts in place. So that we've never used that because we don't do any of that, but that's becoming a big thing now in Silicon Valley.
In the whole SaaS business world is very easy. Once you get to a certain level of revenue, it's actually very easy to get receivables financing and MRR financing based on that revenue level. Yeah. So, Stephan, what else have you encountered in your journey that is strategic, interesting, and worth sharing with our audience that we can learn from?
I mean, the hardest part has always just been the hiring side. That's been, especially one of the big challenges that was always big for me. I've never had a regular job, so I started being an entrepreneur right out of school. And so I think one of my big challenges always was that it's very hard to, for example, I'd never hired a developer. I'd never worked with a developer, right? So hiring a great developer, if you've never worked with any developers, it's really hard. So if you don't have like a bar, quote unquote, that you actually understand what a great hire looks like, one thing that we did a bit in the beginning, and we're doing less now because we have a pretty broad spectrum of people, but is bring in outside people that can help you with those hires. Because missed hires are incredibly expensive and distracting. So if you can, for example, if you hire a developer, bring in somebody to advise you, even if it's just a friend or whatever that has coded a little bit, to be able to tell you, hey, is this actually a good person? Because, again, avoiding mishires, and on the other hand, avoiding not hiring somebody that could be great is just absolutely crucial. So the hiring side, again, on the scaling, and it's the initial 10, 15 people, it's kind of different there, right? Because it's just really challenging to make good picks there. And we just went around of just picking really smart people, even if they weren't very experienced, because we just didn't have that much cash. But after that, really finding those very, very talented and experienced people just makes a world of a difference.
Where is the bulk of your technology team?
They're all in San Diego. Like, I don't do remote. That's one of the things I'm not very good at. I think it's me personally, honestly. I like having everybody. I like being able to walk over. I like to be able to sit down in person. We've done some teleconferencing work, and to me, it's not the same. So I like having everybody in one place. We're very culture-based, too, and it's much harder to have culture, quote-unquote, if you're all remote. So I have been a big fan of having just one location.
How big is the San Diego tech startup community, and how complex is the talent war in your geography?
Sure. It's getting a lot bigger. I mean, compared to 5 years ago, there's definitely a lot more now. We're definitely seeing kind of the trend, especially with San Francisco becoming just incredibly expensive, that people are moving back down here, especially it's just less stressful, right? It's kind of a different atmosphere. That has upsides and downsides, right? There's just a bit less of a hustle here than there's in San Francisco, but also the rents are like half. So your cost of living is much lower. The salaries actually go much further. So that's definitely nice. I think what we're seeing really in San Diego is that there's, especially for like the developers, that's really kind of where the talent wars are, right? It's very, very hard to find very senior people in San Diego, because anybody who's very senior is the people from San Francisco are just going to try to poach them and move them up there. On the more junior side, so if you're like a startup, you probably aren't really too affected by it. I mean, it's going to be hard to hire a CTO in San Diego because a lot of them, again, move. But if you're looking just junior developer or even mid-level developer, there's quite a few of them available. So, and again, I think you can really build it anywhere, but being in this close proximity is definitely is a bit tricky.
Well, Silicon Valley is, especially for bootstrap startups, I think Silicon Valley is very difficult from a hiring point of view because, you know, the culture is a very venture capital oriented culture. So people go to companies that have a lot of venture capital and they end up, and I suppose the venture capital companies also can pay more. You know, bootstrap companies have limitations on how much you can pay for talent. So there is, so I think in general, actually, bootstrap companies are easier to do outside of Silicon Valley than in Silicon Valley, just because that venture capital culture is so dominant here. Fighting that from every point of view is hard. And even, you know, when you're trying to sell that this company has huge potential, there is not enough understanding of the difference between what happens in a bootstrap venture, what happens in a venture capital funded company, and explaining that to developers is not at all easy, I think. But did you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I love being in San Diego. I mean, the price savings that we have, that, again, it's just rent. I mean, our rent is probably half of what it would be, or probably a third of what it would be in Silicon Valley, right? So there is definitely a lot of advantages, especially if you're bootstrapping, to not being in Silicon. I completely agree. Like, especially the Midwest too, right? There's so many opportunities. There's a lot of talented people everywhere. So I don't really believe that there's like no talented people in the Midwest on the coder side, right? They don't all leave. There's a ton of talented people there. It's probably harder to find them, and it's probably harder to scale, right? If you're trying to hire 100 developers overnight, then yes, unless you're in San Francisco, you're probably out of luck. But most bootstrap companies don't do that, so that's not, I don't know how big of an issue that would be.
One of my favorite stories on that is Greg Gianforte built Right Now in Montana, and he bootstrapped to $6 million from Montana before he raised a penny of venture capital. And then he raised venture capital in Silicon Valley, and the company went on to go public, and it even, you know, was acquired by Oracle later on for $1.5 billion. So it was a huge success story, but the story actually was largely architected in Montana. And that's just, you know, an example of what you can do if you know what you're doing, essentially.
Sure. Well, especially if you have a distributed workforce inherent in your business, right? If you kind of have that, if you have the ability or the necessity for the distributed workforce, having your headquarters in a much less expensive state definitely makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
But, you know, I think part of what's going on also is I have several friends who are doing this, is using locations where you can have large, you know, workforces at reasonable costs to be able to build very large software systems. Your software system is relatively smaller, but right now, for instance, a very large software system, so they have to hire a lot of people, and they were moving people from other parts of the U.S. for quality of life. I mean, Bozeman, Montana is really cheap, right? Relative to all these other
places. I was just up there, so yeah.
Costs nothing. And it's great quality of life. And you know, do you know Zoho?
Sure.
Zoho is getting up there. They're like $500 million in revenue. They've never raised a penny of venture capital, and that company has, you know, thousands of people in Chennai, India, and they've done all their software development. It's a lot of software, huge amount of software that they've developed from Chennai and been able to sell to the whole world. So I think your point that you can build good companies outside of Silicon Valley is well taken, and I think it's becoming more and more both viable and kind of important for people who are doing bootstrap businesses especially. And once you get to a certain scale, you can raise financing from anywhere. You can raise financing from New York. You can raise financing from Silicon Valley, which actually brings me to the last question. Why did you choose not to finance your company?
You know what? We just never really had the need. I mean, it was going really well. We decided that we'd rather grow slower, right? Because, yeah, if somebody had given us $10 million, we probably could have moved a lot faster. I think our software has gone through so many iterations. We have improved it so many times. If we would have gambled huge right to begin with, right, we're kind of in a new industry, right? We're not doing something incremental. It really is it's very different. So the ideation phase definitely took a little longer, and so I don't know, it's kind of ended up working out this way. It's very nice not to have a board, right? We can, when we want to decide to do something, when we want to decide to change a strategy, when we want to hold off on selling something for 3 months because we think it's going to be better then, we can. So having that flexibility has definitely proven to be very, very helpful. And I'm not saying we're never going to raise, right? At some point, that may be the point where it's like, hey, yes, now would be the time. But so far, yeah, we've done really well. So we're kind of planning on keeping it up at least in the short term.
Well, experimentation on venture capital dollars is a very expensive process.
That's right.
Venture capital is great for growth financing, where you know what you're doing and you're going to do more of the same thing, and you know if you put in $1 million, you're going to, you know exactly what you're going to churn out, maybe $3 million, maybe $5 million, maybe $10 million, but you know exactly how that money is going to be spent. That's where I think venture capital is the most sure shot way to finance your company and still be successful. I have case study after case study of where, people tried to experiment, they didn't get it right, raise money early on, and then basically they lose control of the company. You raise money multiple times, and by the time you're done, you have like a minuscule % ownership in the company, and this is when entrepreneurs get fired very, very regularly, is when you start losing control over the company and you're not really hitting your stride and you're not growing 100% year over year or 200% year over year, that's when you get fired.
Yeah,
Stephan,
that's
thank
an
you
interesting
for
point,
being
right?
here.
The price isn't just in equity, right? Yeah, sure, if you have a huge company that you own 50% of, that's better than having a small company you own 100% of. But the price is on the control and what you can actually do, right? Because you suddenly have to report to a board. There's so much more, it slows you down. So kind of seeing the price as purely of an equity price is kind of, that's not the whole picture, right? And so that's what at least that's what I've been told by a lot of people. So we've not been in that situation, fortunately enough. But yeah, so it's kind of the side of being able to do and making the moves you want to make, even though you have to move a bit slower, there's definitely a large upside to that.
There's a series that we are doing on our blog right now, and there's some video work on that as well, death by overfunding. There's company after company that are dying, without ever figuring out a business model that works or scales, but have raised huge amounts of financing. So please take a look at that. In fact, the one that is the most tragic story is Nasty Gal, which is also an e-commerce company that actually did $23 million in bootstrap revenue before they raised any financing at all. But then, it just raised too much money and it started doing all kinds of things that were, absurd and went out of business. Basically, we just got acquired for peanuts by another company, and it was unnecessary, and the founder got fired in the process, etc. This company should not have died. This company should have been alive and well and thriving at this point. So anyway, Stephan, we're going to switch to the mentoring portion of the session. Thank you very much for sharing your journey with us, and let's keep in touch.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Folks, we are going to do 3 entrepreneur pitches. I just want to set some expectations before we dive into these. We are on your side, okay? This is a working session. It has no other agenda besides helping you succeed. So come to it feeling safe. Feel free to, share your anxieties and, what you're struggling with, so that we can actually work on that and try to address those issues and those concerns. As I said, this is a working session, and it's a safe place for you to work on your strategy. Now, of course, you come from a certain background and a certain, thought process, certain, understanding of your business and your strategy, etc. And our intent is to give you advice based on feedback, based on our experience, and you can disagree, you may disagree with the feedback you get here, but it's really up to you what you do with the feedback. All I would say is that do consider the feedback that you get here, because we don't tell you what you want to hear. We tell you what you need to hear. We try our best to be very authentic and very direct in that feedback. So I'm not going to sugarcoat the feedback. I'm going to tell you what I think is, real, and you do what you like with that feedback. We are on your side. You have to understand that is the whole spirit of this program. And as I said earlier, this is a roundtable, so we want everybody to participate as much as possible. So please, please try to. By the way, folks, if whoever is not going to be pitching right now, Maureen, could you mute their lines, because I don't want noise in the call. So you will learn the most today and in subsequent sessions by asking questions and participating in this discussion. The more you engage, the more you're going to learn. So remember that, and do use the public chat to ask questions, and then I will also open up the line so you can call in if you like. We're going to start with Stephan Clark. Stephan, please unmute your line and tell us what you're doing.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, and I'll just be very brief. I know we have a short period of time, and please forgive me. I'm dealing with a little bit of a cold. We're here in beautiful Toronto, Canada, so it's a little bit chillier than you have it down there. But we launched a company based on an idea about 16 months ago called RTG Group, which stands for Receiving Through Giving. The idea was to kind of challenge the way the charitable model is working and make it more about the people who are actually giving, so addressing the donor fatigue, but also about this whole millennial aspect where millennials are, giving is down because of lack of transparency in charities. So we built a model based on that because we wanted to build a homeless shelter, and now over the last 16 months, talking to people and fine-tuning the model, we find ourselves in a position where it's going to be a lot larger than we ever assumed, and 2017 is going to see some incredible growth. You can go to the next slide, Maureen. So what we've done is we've kind of put together an opportunity, an investment opportunity based on that. And because we are pre-revenue, we didn't want to assume that, or project an evaluation of the company. So we put basically an opportunity for people to invest. We put lots of 50,000 with a maximum of 500,000, and we wanted to pay an interest on that money, a healthy interest, which was 12%. And at the end of the year, when we get properly evaluated, we would give them the opportunity to turn that into a 50,000 at 1% or 500,000 at 10%, based on the evaluation of the company. Of course, if the company was evaluated higher, which we project it will be, they get a deal. If it's not, they can either get their money back or they can turn it into another one-year investment. So that's kind of how we put it together, only because of our experience with, people coming in. And of course, we've all seen the Dragon's Den and Shark's Tanks, where people come in and evaluate their company way more than it's worth based on projections. So that's what we wanted to do.
Stephan, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
This is completely the wrong format of presenting. You should first present your business and then ask.
Right.
You're asking first we don't know anything about your business, and you're putting investment proposal together. This is a very wrong sequence of presentation.
Right. Okay. So Maureen, you can go through to the next slide. So that slide was it wasn't supposed to be put in there, but this is who RTG is. RTG is a for-profit social enterprise. The model is based on ensuring that everyone who participates wins more than they put in. And Maureen, can you skip to a couple slides, because we have a chart there that's showing exactly how the business works. Keep going. Keep going one more. Yeah, there it is. So that's how our business model works. We basically have set it up so that we have formulated food. We're addressing specifically the needs of hunger. And people who buy the food from us, because we're a for-profit model, we then deliver that food to charities, which we have partnerships with. Those charities are giving back the tax receipt, and then we, because we're for-profit, are giving a gift. And that gift is in the form of a discount app where people can save far more than it's costing them every month to feed that, in our case, Canadians, or when we open up in the States, it'll be Americans. So that's the model. And then through that, in our articles of incorporation, we have that 50% of our money must go back into other issues. So building homeless shelters was our first, and we just launched
the graduate. How do you make money, Stephan? How does your business make money?
Wholesale retail, like any business. So you're buying the product off of us. So in the United States, for example, you would pay $30 a month to feed an American. It doesn't cost us $30 a month to manufacture that food. So the difference between what it costs us versus what we're selling it for, that's how we profit. Make sense?
Okay. So what are the numbers? What are we talking about in terms of, do you have any kind of model here that shows like how much, who's making how much and what's going on here?
Well, we don't
because
actually
you talked about a lot of things, tax receipt and so on and so forth. So I don't fully understand.
So you're a little bit lost. So let's take an example then to really explain it. So if you were to, if you wanted to feed a child right now in the United States, you would give that money to a charity, and you would get a tax receipt. We're saying, and that's fine. The problem with that is that right now, especially the younger people, they have a problem with lack of transparency in charities. How much money is actually going to that, to feed that child, and where's the rest of the money going? And that's one of the problems, and that's one of the reasons why now, especially in North America, giving is down. So that's the particular one we've addressed. We've saying, buy the food from us. So what you're giving to the charity is the food. We're, in your name, we're sending that food to the charity. That charity is still giving you a tax receipt as a gift in kind. Now, to make it better for you, we are also then gifting you a discount app. In that app has got restaurants and travel, and so that you can literally save every month far more than it's costing you to feed that American. So that's the model, so that everybody, basically our slogan is, everybody must win more than they put in. And so that's how we've created this. Does that make sense? Does that clarify a little bit?
So what kind of margins are you working with for the food that the giver is buying from you to donate to the charity? What is this? Is it the regular retail margin, or are you discounting on that margin? What is the?
It's approximately a regular retail market. We have to ensure, in order for our model to work properly, we have to charge and give to the charity. It has to be a reasonable price, so we can't mark it up. Otherwise, the government wouldn't allow us. So our prices, for example, in the United States, to feed an American would be $30 a month. In Canada, it's $38. If you go to other charities, most of them are equal or more than that. And that's the way we've had to do it. So our real strength will be in numbers. In Canada this year, we have a model that will feed 500,000 Canadians per month. And so because of that, and because of the discount on manufacturing that food, we're able to make a good enough margin where we can put money back into other programs as well as profitable ourselves.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, can you get enough givers to buy this from you and give it to charity? That brings the question of, acquisition of these givers. How do you acquire these givers, and why are you pre-revenue? This seems like a fairly straightforward, simple model. Why are you pre-revenue? When did you start? Well, is it just like started like last month or something?
No, we started 16 months ago, and we needed to build this model properly. We funded it ourselves. We didn't. We put a couple $100,000 in to do this, but we needed to make sure we had it. And you just asked a very good question. So, for example, how do we get those? How do we get those people to feed? We certainly don't go door to door. And our program to feed 500,000 people a month in Canada this year would be not able to do, obviously. So we've developed a corporate model where we've created during the course of the last 16 months, we created a team building app, and we go into the companies and offer a team building program. And if we've all studied the corporate model, we know that traditional team builds today need to change because of, again, millennials. They want to be involved. So our team building is basically goes in and sees how many people that team, the company, can go by engaging their clients, by engaging the community, their suppliers, how many people that they can feed over the course of a couple of week program. So it would be the same type of program as a
And do you have any validation that companies are willing to do that with you in terms of team building?
That's what we've been doing over the last 18 or 16 months. Yes, in fact, we just signed the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce, and our program will be running out starting next month with their companies. For chambers and for associations, it's a great program because it provides a value added for them. So, a chamber, for example, can now gift this to their members and say, here's a great program that will help you with your corporate culture, it'll help you with your CSR program, and also, of course, be a great millennialization tool, attracting and retaining millennials because of what you're doing.
Stephan, can you stop for a second? I asked a very simple question. Why, if you have corporations who are willing to work with you, why are you pre-revenue?
Okay, so let me say again to you, over the last 16 months, it's taken us this long to work out everything that I've just told you to get to the place we are right now. So we're pre-revenue because we haven't rolled it out. We did not want to roll it out until we were ready to do so. We didn't need to because we had the funding, we had our own funding, and we wanted to make sure, we wanted to test it. We've been to, for example, we pitched to the American Bar Association and worked that out, and we have an agreement in principle with them for 2017. So we are pre-revenue because we have not rolled the program out yet. We wanted to get feedback, we wanted to improve the model, we wanted to ensure that we were going to be successful with it.
So, to ensure you're going to be successful with it, try to get to revenue as soon as possible. And it would be a lot easier to, to make money if you, do that. Otherwise, it's going to be impossible to raise money based on, without any revenue. Because I think there's a question mark whether this is going to be possible to generate a lot of revenue out of this business, and investors are going to look for a lot of revenue before a lot of validation before you can get them to invest in something like this, where it's questionable whether this is going to scale fast or not. Venture capital financing is a requirement, absolutely, to for venture capital financing, it's a requirement to have very fast growth. I'm going to need to break for a second before the next presentation, so just 1 second, okay?
Yeah. I'm sure I've gone over my time. I'm not looking for venture capitals. Oops.
All right. I'm back.
Yes.
So, Stephan, I think my feedback to you is it will be you can potentially raise money through friends and family for this, but it would be very, very difficult to raise professional angel investor money or venture capital money for this right now, given what you have. And I don't even advise that you raise money from any professional, and the fact that it's going to be difficult and potentially impossible works in your favor, because you don't want to get into a situation where you're promising people that you're going to grow really fast and develop a huge business, which is what investors, professional angels and VCs are looking for, and then not be able to deliver that. I think you have a lot of experimentation and a lot of validation to do to understand what does it cost and what does it take for you to recruit, acquire these givers who are going to buying the food, who are going to be buying the food from you and donating to charity. What does that cost? You don't know that yet. You have no idea what it costs for you to get, you're saying that corporations want to do this with you. We don't have any evidence that they will do it. There's something, there's a big leap from people wanting to do something and people actually doing it and paying for something. So you need to validate all these kind of step by step and try to do it without raising huge amounts of money, because I think there are lots of question marks here that you need to work through before you, A, can raise a lot of money, and 2, should raise a lot of money.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate your feedback.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, folks, we are going to move to the next presenter. Hitesh Kothari from Bangalore, India is next. Hitesh, please go ahead. Are you there, Hitesh? Hitesh Kothari, where are you? Maureen? Is the other person who's supposed to pitch on the phone? I can advance to the next person. Shashi, your question is, what is pre-revenue? Apologize if it sounds stupid. Actually, pre-revenue means that you don't have any revenue, basically, yet. It's as simple as that. It's exactly what it sounds like. And a business needs to have revenues. A business needs to have customers, revenues, and profits. Folks, while we are juggling through the presenters, it seems like Hitesh and Kunal, the 2 next presenters, have not called in yet. You can go ahead and use the public chat to ask your questions. Now is a great time to ask questions, and whatever it is that you are struggling with in your business, feel free to use the public chat to ask questions. You can also call in. Maureen is providing you the toll number, the call-in number, which is 650-479-3208, access code 666-297-774. Okay, I'm going to advance to the segment about how to use 1M1M, and then, we'll come back to the presenters if and when they call in. I'm surprised that you haven't called in. Neither of you have called in, actually. We have one from Bangalore and one from Gurgaon, India, and neither have called in. By the way, we have a thunderstorm here, and there's thunder and lightning going on. I just want to let you know about that, just because sometimes Comcast, which is our telephone and internet provider, it goes off when big thunderstorms happen. So that's just FYI. Okay, folks, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about how to use 1 million by 1 million. Kunal, you're asking, you're calling from the last 5 minutes. I don't understand. I asked you to speak up. Why aren't you able to speak? All right, we're going to, if you call in, you're going to be presenting 5 minutes from now because I'm going to spend the time talking about 1 million by 1 million next. So everything resource-wise, you'll find at 1mby1m.com. You will find a blog which is free and just chock full of information, inspiration, stories of other entrepreneurs, how they've been successful. So you'll be able to learn a lot just by following the blog on a regular basis. So do that. Definitely, it's a free opportunity to do that. And the next piece of learning material that we have from 1 million by 1 million is the Entrepreneur Journey series of books. We have 12 books. You can zero in on a topic, whether it's bootstrapping with a paycheck. Let's say you want to bootstrap your company while holding on to your job. That's fine. You can do that. Do it with, using your paycheck. There's a book that is full of case studies on how people have done that and how you can do that. So that's one. Maureen, can you mute the person who is on the phone because I don't want the noise to come in? It's fine, but we will get to that person in a moment. Then you can, depending on what you're trying to learn, if you're trying to learn positioning, there's a book on positioning and so forth. These roundtables happen every week. So pretty much, this is the 336th roundtable. So almost every week at this point, you will be able to find one on our schedule. So whenever you're ready, come and book a slot. You can attend the sessions or listen to the recordings of the sessions and learn a lot, but also you'll learn a lot by pitching and actually, getting feedback on your project. Then we have the premium program, which is the full-fledged acceleration program where we provide you with extensive methodology guidance. We have a curriculum that is case studies and video lectures based that you learn from other entrepreneurs. We have over 750 successful entrepreneurs who have been part of this program in terms of building the program and building the curriculum. Their case studies, their advice, their lessons from the trenches are built into this curriculum, and you can basically stand on the shoulders of very successful people, including 50-plus unicorn entrepreneurs, about 300, 400 about venture-funded companies, and then another 300 bootstrapped entrepreneurs. So you learn a lot from them. Then we help you with business development, introductions to potential customers, channel partners, etc. We do have project-specific feedback, just like we're doing here. We have private roundtables for our premium members where we do that kind of strategy consulting. Then we help you with financing. If you are fundable, you have to get to that point of fundability. We'll shepherd you through that. And then we also help you with media relations because we have huge clout out there in the media, and we can get your story out there. That's part of the offering. The 1M1M self-assessment is a free questionnaire that we want you to ask yourself. Investors would ask you these questions, but we want you to ask these questions long before you meet any investor, because it's a set of questions that will help you become successful. Answer these questions well, and you will vastly increase your chances of being successful. If you are running into methodology gaps as you're going through the self-assessment, go to 1M1M Basic and use the curriculum. It's a curriculum-only option of starting at $99 a month, where you can just spend a few months, maybe 1 month, 2 months, just studying the curriculum and methodology, and then you can decide whether you want to go into the premium program or not, but you can at least get started and get learning with the curriculum and start plugging your methodology gaps. That's it. You can go to the website and look around. There's lots of information about our premium program, basic program, everything, lots of video FAQs and so forth. And you can decide whether this is the right program for you or not. Our methodology is lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startups. Even if you want to raise money, you're going to have to bootstrap to validation. These days, nobody finds companies that are nobody funds companies that are not validated. So you have to do validation in a bootstrap mode. That's going to take you potentially, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, sometimes longer. And that phase usually needs to be bootstrapped. So you need to learn how to bootstrap successfully. That's pretty much it. Is Kunal on the call? Are you on the line? Or Hitesh?
Hello?
Yes, who is this?
Hitesh here.
Hitesh, okay, let me go to your slides. One moment. All right, go ahead, Hitesh.
All right, first of all, thanks for the opportunity for having me here.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
So I'll just have a quick introduction to myself and the company. So it's been about 7 years that I'm into the domain of digital marketing, and I just took a plunge last year to set up my own firm. So it's been about 7 months into it right now. So we are basically a digital marketing firm who do end-to-end of all the services related. Okay. So this is what we are modeling towards, where we promise each of the clients that we get on board with that we will help and increase your business by 2x. So if you can move further, so any business out there can be our customer, because initially we were trying to boil down to either B2B or B2C. But then we let it, we just experimented, and we have clients from across different domains. And if at all we had to break it down on the company size, an SME or a startup would be a good fit for us.
And you made this decision based on what? Just because you were getting inbound leads that were coming to you from across B2B and B2C, the startup SME scene? Is that why you made that decision, or did you make that decision for some other reason?
So we did it for 2 reasons. One is we didn't have the team yet to cater to a bigger client, because I worked for Infosys, IBM, and Sonata. So Infosys indirectly had come to us for some project. It was a very big project. We didn't have the resources back then. So that's when we decided, I think probably we could stick to startups and SME, because the project would be in a smaller, level, so we could, go about things.
And but the decision to do both B2B and B2C is based on what? Because those are very different. B2B digital marketing, B2C digital marketing are quite different, right?
Correct, absolutely. Because any business out there currently requires a digital marketing presence. So I have worked for 7 years only in B2B. So B2B is the easier part for me, but there are a lot of B2C clients which we are catering to right now, and we're doing a good job about it as well.
So basically, the decision is based on whatever is coming to you.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Because, so Hitesh, the reason I'm asking you these questions, and I want you to think about it this way, is, there is reactive and then there is proactive. When you decide on strategy, you decide on what is going to be a proactive strategy. Reactive is basically, okay, things are coming to you, you take it on or not take it on, that's your choice. But when it comes to proactive, where do you position your digital marketing strategy? How do you acquire customers? What is your customer acquisition strategy? That is the proactive part, and that's where you're going to need to be selective, and you're going to need to position yourselves in a way that you can be strong and differentiated and credible. And you just said something that I picked up, that you have a lot of B2B marketing experience, digital marketing experience, because of your work with Infosys. So when it comes to credibility and, unfair advantage, so to speak, it sounds like you have depth, 7 years of experience in B2B digital marketing. You should play that. That should be in your proactive strategy. That needs to be played up.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Because it is very crowded, as you know. This is a very, very crowded market. So the big question that we're going to need to answer to help you move forward is, how do you position this such that it is a differentiated story?
Sure. So frankly speaking, we have, so it's been about 6 months so far, so we have pivoted twice on the strategy ourselves. So, last month was very bad month for us in terms of demonetization, where we had Indian clients who were not ready to spend. So we lost about 50%. The top 2 clients who were, accounting for 50% of our income backed out. So that is when we sat back and decided what is the strategy to go forward. Because this was a crisis which we were not prepared for. And we thought we could, go after US. So we did spend a little bit of time in research and did, the outreach. But we didn't get any response. So we thought we're not yet ready to,
No, that's not the point. It's not a question of not being ready. It's a question of the strategy and the channels through which you market, right? If you want to market to the US clients, you have to market through channels from which US clients buy digital marketing. You have to tell me what you did to, I have to understand what you've done so far in terms of your, approach to try to solicit US clients. But, if you try to sell through channels that they don't buy from, that's not going to work.
Sure. So we did a couple of activities as a part of it. We have a small team here who does, SEO, social media, blogging content, etc. So we did boil down to a few names of companies from the US, and we did a manual outreach to them in terms of email marketing. We did a follow-up email as well. There were quite a few number of opens, but none were, kind of taking action and getting back to us.
So again, that's not the right strategy in terms of acquiring customers. Is this your price point, $250 per month? Is that the price point at which you are trying to acquire customers from the US?
So with respect to US, we didn't put the price point right up front, but this is what average price that each of the clients are paying currently.
Okay, so for this type of price point, the best place to acquire customers for you is going to be by bidding on the, Upwork, freelancer.com, those kinds of sites. Upwork is probably one of the biggest sites out there right now, from where people, small businesses find digital marketing service providers.
Sure. So on Upwork, Fiverr, Freelancer, there are a few sites like this, which I was active personally before when I started the company, when I was freelancing. But right now, with respect to the Indian clients, it's easier to crack through because we have a presence. People do drop in. We have a face-to-face meeting and convince. But with respect to US, I think probably we might have to channel through Upwork and build the portfolio there.
You have to build a portfolio on Upwork. If you want to acquire US clients of this size, you're going to have to build a portfolio on Upwork. And the other thing is, if you have to go in person and meet with people, and this is not a big price point, right? $250 per month is not a big price point. So if you have to go and meet with people and recruit clients this way, it's going to be a very slow scaling process. So you've got to figure out ways of acquiring these customers online. So, and as far as I know, one of the fastest and most efficient way would be to do this through a portfolio on Upwork.
Okay, cool. So 250 is not that we are looking for. 1,000 onwards is what we are aiming for, but this is where we currently are in the last 6 months.
Yeah, but it will not be so easy to find customers in India who are going to be willing to pay you $1,000 per month.
Yep, sure. Cool, point taken.
Right?
So,
I mean, you know how price sensitive the Indian market is. They don't like to spend money. So,
yep.
whereas $250 per month or even $1,000 per month in digital marketing is a price point that a lot of companies in the US spend. So, you know, I think for you, from a strategy point of view, building out a big portfolio on Upwork is going to work much better than, and I have seen company after company being built based on that model, you know, businesses like yours, catering to small, you know, SMB clients and startup clients. It's a kind of a sure shot strategy. If you can make that work, if you figure out how to make that work, and you know, we can help you figure out how to make that work. We know a lot about this stuff. That is going to be the best strategy for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So one question I had here is, so since we are bootstrapped right now, so I put in all my personal savings. Since we are more of a generic services-based company, if at all I had to raise some kind of investment, what would be, I mean, do you recommend that it will be through friends and family?
You cannot raise investment on this business. The only kind of investment you can raise is friends and family. No professional investor is going to invest in this.
Okay, cool.
It's a pure services business at this point. Until, you know, if you have aspirations of building a venture-funded, highly scalable business, then you have to figure out where you can build products and where you can build, you know, ultra scalability. And that's a whole different type of business.
Right, right. Cool.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Good luck, Hitesh.
Thanks a lot.
Kunal Kaushik. You're welcome. Kunal Kaushik, are you on the line? Naveen Chitluri, you sent a public message and a private message saying you have a question. Either ask your question in the public chat, or you're welcome to also call in. The number is 650-479-3208, access code 666-297-774. You're welcome to call in as well, Naveen. And what's going on with Kunal? Anybody else wanting to call in or ask questions in public chat? Now is the time. From here on till the end of the session, which is we have just about 18 minutes in the allocated call. This is the time to ask questions and dialogue, you know, raise your issues, tell us who you are. This is also a networking time. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what is your project, what are you working on?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, is this Kunal?
Yes, hello. Good morning, ma'am.
Hi. I'm trying to figure out if it's Kunal or Naveen, so please tell me who you are.
Okay, so this is Kunal Kaushik here. I'm calling from Gurgaon.
Great. Your slides are up, Kunal. Tell us what you're working on.
Yes, hello. So I am Kunal Kaushik, and I am a freelancer consultant, as well as I'm a part of a franchisee called the Princeton Review for the last 3 years. Yes, so I've been training students in SAT, IELTS, GRE, and all the exams basically that take students abroad. Yes.
Okay.
Due to which what has happened is I've got a lot of experience in the field, and while
Kunal,
I was working on this project,
your voice is coming out absolutely garbled. I could not understand a word of what you said.
Website where we give counseling and queries. Yes. Okay, is it clearer now, ma'am?
Yes, much better now.
Is it audible now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So I'll start over again. So Pearl Remedials Lab, we are basically a subsidiary of an already established company called Zeeto. All right. So we are a product of it, and I have been a trainer
Kunal, something is wrong with your line. You're often sending out
like
completely
IELTS,
garbled noise. Kunal, we can't understand a word of what you're saying.
Hello? Is it better now?
Yes, it's better. What are you doing? Can you tell me what your setup is? Why is the phone line garbled?
I think it is because of the really depressive net now, because I'm in the high utilization time.
Are you calling through Skype and not phone?
I'm calling through Skype, ma'am.
Can you call with a phone? Because if you have a weak phone, if you have a weak net connection and you're trying to do this call by Skype, we cannot, it doesn't sound like we're going to be able to make this call. I've never seen this kind of distortion before, but mostly people do not call using Skype, they call using phone.
All right. So if you give me like a 5 minutes heads up, I can arrange for a phone.
We only have another about 14 minutes left. So go ahead, and if you can call in, we will resume your presentation. Sure. Hang up and try to call in with the phone line.
Sure.
Naveen, was it Naveen who was, Naveen Chitluri, do you want to ask your questions? Do you want to call in, or do you want to ask in the public chat? How do you want to ask your questions? And anybody else? This is Q&A time. While Kunal is sorting out his telecom infrastructure, this is completely Q&A time. Yvette, thank you very much. Yvette, where are you joining from, and what are you working on? Folks, we try to be as accommodating and as patient as possible with all your constraints, whether it's your telecom lines from, we have people dialing in from all over the world, and sometimes it's the foothills of the Himalayas, sometimes it's from some village in Africa. So we are completely and absolutely committed to making it work for you from wherever you are. So it is an effort at true democratization of entrepreneurship learning. Yvette, you're from Sacramento, California, working on funding for your nonprofit. Okay. Not tech, however, it is global. All right. Anybody else wants to introduce yourselves? Tell us where you're joining from, what are you working on, what is your project, what are your challenges? No? None of you want to talk about your projects and challenges and your situations? Varun from Hyderabad, India. Varun, what are you working on? Maureen, could you also share the links to the 2 videos, the probability of fundraising one as well as the debt by overfunding ones? I would like you to all look at these 2 videos. Maureen will put the links right now in the public chat. Ram from Chicago here with a couple of ideas for a regional language-based app/community for pet care, New York Times type bestseller ranking for regional language literature, where to find funding. Ram, in general, the methodology we follow is you have to validate without funding. So, there are a couple of, I don't know what your situation is. Do you have a job right now? Are you working somewhere while you're noodling these ideas? Naveen Chitluri, don't send me private messages. This is a public chat. So set your chat to send to all participants and send everything to the whole room so that everybody can see what you're sending. So Ram, if you have a paycheck, if you basically have a job, then start validating your ideas. Use the methodology here. You can, by the way, join 1 million by 1 million while you have a job, and you can keep your job for the next couple of years while you're, bootstrapping with a paycheck. That's acceptable for us. In fact, we encourage that. We have companies we have incubated within 1 million by 1 million that have gone all the way to 1 million in revenues and break even by doing the bootstrapping with a paycheck strategy. So, so your funding is actually going to be your paycheck until you get to a point where your project is ready for external financing. In your situation, I think that may be the best strategy. Does that make sense, Ram? Varun says, I'm working on a mobile app called Matchbox. A wardrobe organizer helps fashion-conscious people to look trendy within existing clothes with mix-match intelligence. Okay, and Varun, what is your validation strategy? Are you doing this with a job that you're, that you can also use the bootstrapping with a paycheck strategy, or are you already full-time on this project? You're working full-time and doing this on the side. So keep your job, and let's figure out a very, precise strategy to validate what you're doing. You can follow the 1M1M methodology, and, we'll help you figure out a strategy of how to validate your business and get to revenue, get to the next several levels of building this venture without quitting your job. And the more I've worked with entrepreneurs over all these years, now we're doing 1 million by 1 million for over 6 years, the more I'm convinced that prematurely quitting your job with an unvalidated idea is not a smart way to be successful in entrepreneurship, because you have to pay your bills and you don't need to put this added stress on yourself without figuring out how you're going to build this business. There's a very steep learning curve that you're going to need to climb. And my advice is that you learn the methodology of how to climb that learning curve, how to, get a lot more sophisticated about your business building process, kind of this MBA of entrepreneurship while you hold on to your job. So for several of you who are talking about your situations in the public chat right now, Varun for sure, Ram for sure, hold on to your jobs and let's start validating your ideas and getting to the next stage. Naveen Chitluri is from Dallas, working on an IoT device that might address some supply chain issues.
Hello.
Hi,
yes.
Hello.
Yes, this is Kunal.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, I'm back.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm so sorry for the connection. So I just got it fixed. Good morning to all of you. So what I do is I'm actually a trainer with a firm called Princeton Review, and I have been teaching IELTS, TOEFL, and GRE and PTE and all the abroad going exams for the last 3.5 years. Yes, and I have a good placement record and getting students in some of the best universities in the world. Now, the idea for my firm came from a previous firm, which we already started when we were in college. Although I'm a full-timer, I was acting as a technical consultant, and we implemented a model of giving hotspots when we are tied up with BSNL. The fact is that a lot of companies give broadband connections to home. We give them a direct hotspot, yes, so people log in using user ID and registration, and they pay the monthly bills. So once it worked out really well, we came up to this set of ideas. Now, since I was in the counseling business for a really long time, what I realized is a lot of students spend a lot of money going abroad. So basically, as an Indian, we have to spend around, we have to show an asset of 44 to 48 lakhs. If that is not enough, what we have noticed is a lot of the money of the students goes in the services which accompany getting into college, like editing your SOPs and LORs and couriering of the transcripts as well as sending them, even filling for admission forms. And since GRE, IELTS, and PTE, these are basically exams where a lot of students go for masters, yes, so they are working people. So as a result, we started this firm, Pearl Remedials, around 9 months back, and we started pulling in good response from our previous clients. Most of them were my students, and now it has expanded. We have a 150 strong base of customer clients, and these students of ours, they tie up with a membership view. So see, we are an aggregator. We are not really our own service providers. We outsource our work to good firms, which if we since we know the students, when we give them the students, they get it done at a lesser price compared to the market price. The very cheap way, and we give it to home. So what our USP is, we are developing a free web app on Azure Machine Learning, which predicts the probable list of colleges what the student can get in depending on his profile. Yes. So our input format basically has a student putting in his IELTS, TOEFL, PTE marks and 10, 10, 12 marks, and he gets a predicted pattern. Now, my machine learning algorithm basically goes over the past 15, 20 years of record of students getting into colleges and predicts what kind of a profile that student should build just in case he wants to get into that college. So let's say student ABC wants to go to CMU, and he has not taken any IELTS or a TOEFL or a GRE exams, but he has given his 10th, 12th, and his work experience into our input. The output is basically a pattern which predicts that what kind of scores he exactly needs for IELTS, TOEFL, and PTE and GRE, as well as what he should do to build a better profile. Okay. So we have not published the web service as of now because I really need to invest a lot of money to buy the Azure license. Azure Machine license. So while I can run the algorithm in my hard computer right here, I'm not able to publish it as a web app link. Yes. So this was our USP.
But have you contacted the Microsoft BizSpark program? They often give these kinds of licenses for free to startups. You can just contact BizSpark and you may be able to just get the license for free.
Yes, yes. So which is what they have given us. They have asked us for our model. We have sent them it, and they are going to do an algorithm check, and they are also going to see how much data sets we are going to upload. So they are charging us for the data sets. So since Azure takes basically CSV file format data sheets, so we need to pay them per entry. Yes, so we already talked with Microsoft Azure. I'm a member of the EDX Microsoft course also. So we got it to them. We are hoping to release this product by the end of March live, and this will be free. Now that is the catch. So if students can, put in their details and get an output, I'm hoping that they will sign up for the value-added services with us. Now these are the services they pay for. They pay as a membership fee. Subscription basis model is what we're working on. So as you can see, our targeted customers.
Let me try to understand your business. We're kind of running out of time, Kunal.
Sure.
You are trying to put this free application out there that is a machine learning based application processing data to predict what kind of schools people might be able to get into, and that's how you're generating the leads, and then you're trying to monetize by pairing these leads up with service providers. This is your business, yeah?
Yes, yes. So we give them an accommodation. So we are tied up, we are partnered with 2 groups in the United States who have got like major dormitories right near the universities. So we pass them through. Now a student can choose to take those services once he uses the app. So we usually prompt them with pop-ups that, would you like to sign up for exclusive service? Now, the exclusive service also includes the SOP and the LOR editing, as well as training you for the mock visas. Yes. Now, this is done by our team in India. The paperwork are getting the scholarships and the GRE scholarship paperwork and transcripts are done by a partner firm called Zeeto, based out of Canada. So this is how we are working. We are working on a share basis. And we are hoping that once this app it reaches out to a huge number, so we're projecting like huge numbers because students try things in India. Now, the reason I'm not charging people to try it because it's experimentative. And I know getting a change done in a market is really difficult to make people start accepting a new technology here.
Yeah, so even if you charge, even if you don't charge for a while, this may be something that actually can be charged for eventually. If it's something that you know you can give it for free for a while to establish, and then at some point you may be able to charge for it. So Kunal, we are kind of at the end of the session. You took so long to get sorted technically that you didn't leave any time for us to work on your business. So what can we help you with? What are your questions?
I just wanted your insights. You see, you're the first out of India person, personally, which I'm getting an insight on. Now, since it is a technology and it holds value, we want to know if it's viable to step into outside markets. For example, now for sampling, I'm using 1,500 list top universities in US only. Yes, I have not stepped into the European domain and now started taking Australian universities into our data sets. So now only students can check is the university in US. Yes, so yeah, so we are looking for. Yes.
Can you tell me one little detail? Are you doing this full time or do you have a job?
I have a job, ma'am. I have a
job,
and I do.
Okay.
Yes,
That's great. That's great. So.
Yes.
Hold on. That's great. I'm thrilled to hear that you have a job. So hold on to your job, and here you can actually, I think this is a product, if this product works, and I don't know if it works yet because, learning technologies are not easy to make work. I know a lot about artificial intelligence and machine learning and so forth. So there is technology risk here. However, if you can make this work, then this is a product that I think you can sell worldwide, and you can sell worldwide, not just give it for free. You can hold on to your job and refine and make sure that the product works, and then I'm pretty sure this is a product that you can actually sell to and for maybe a small amount of money, but if you sell it to enough people, you have an interesting business right there, and then beyond that you can do all this other stuff of passing leads on to other service providers and so forth. So this could be an interesting business that you can build, and we'll be happy to work with you and help you build this business. Okay? But keep your job, because you're going to need time and you're going to need runway to make this business work. It's going to take some time before you can start monetizing it, and in the meantime, you're going to need to pay your bills.
That's really an honor, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, Kunal, I'm going to have to stop here. Sorry, we are at 9:32 a.m. and I have another meeting. I need to wrap this call up. Before we do that, I'm going to introduce you to Irina Patterson, who is your contact for asking questions. Maureen, can you mute Kunal's line, please?
So, yes, right now,
Kunal, you need to stop. We are at the end of the session. You didn't use the time that we allotted for you by calling in with Skype and so forth, so I can't help you anymore. At this point, you're going to have to use the program in, either join the premium program or the basic program and learn from there. But your slot is up. Folks, those of you who have questions about the 1M1M program, please contact Irina and she'll be happy to talk to you and answer your questions further. I'm going to try to quickly take the questions that were on the public chat that I didn't get to. Naveen Chitluri, I suggest you come and pitch at one of the upcoming roundtables, because I don't really understand your business. It's very hard for me to provide you with any kind of meaningful input right now. Varun, you're saying when we keep paycheck, the amount of enthusiasm we put in somewhere goes down. Varun, go read the Bootstrapping Using Paycheck book. If your enthusiasm goes down, that's your problem, not mine, not the world's, not the, not your success probabilities. It is your problem. And whatever is in your head can be managed. You have to work with your own psyche, your own psychology, and make sure that you keep your enthusiasm alive. And one way to do that is to learn about other people who have built huge businesses using bootstrapping with a paycheck. One of my favorite case studies is Girish Navani, who founded eClinicalWorks. This company is going to do $1 billion in revenue by 2018. And this is a company that was bootstrapped with a paycheck. So don't give me these excuses. Go, try to get enough control of your mind, do meditation, do whatever you want, read these books and get yourself to a mental state where you can keep your enthusiasm up and get working. And if you start working using the 1M1M methodology, we will keep you on track on a week-by-week basis, and that's one way to keep your enthusiasm up as well. Shashi is saying, I had seen the video on probability of getting funded a while back. If the probability of funding is so low vis-a-vis the criteria demanded, is it wise to go with any VC rather than grow organically? In the early stages, there is not a lot of, as you saw in the probability of funding video, there is not a lot of upside in going to VCs with half-baked ideas. You have to get to a certain level, and if you follow the 1M1M methodology, we can tell you when you have a high probability of getting funded or not. Just in the meantime, you have to grow organically. You don't have any choice. Yvette Kelly is asking, do you recommend funding using grants too as well as bootstrapping? If you can get it, not every business can get grants. So if you can, especially for nonprofits, that grants is the way a lot of nonprofits grow. But for-profit businesses don't qualify for grants that often unless you're in a category where that may be viable. Okay, I think I've covered all the questions. I've covered all the presentations despite all our little glitches here and there. Let's resume the conversation. Please come back next time. Let's resume the conversation and keep working. This is a working session. We try to accommodate as much of your challenges and issues as possible, so we'll keep doing that week after week after week. So the schedule is on the website. Go to the website, register for your slot, and let's keep working. Good luck. Goodbye. See you soon.